ISM World 2024, The People You'll Meet. My name is Dan Zeiger. I'm a senior writer and copy editor for Inside Supply Management. That's Institute for Supply Management's member publication. And we're excited to have you as a part of today's event. Our time today will be with one of the speakers and one of the people that you'll meet at the conference, which is April 29th through May 1st at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. The next 30 minutes will be an interactive experience and one we hope you'll like and share, enabling you to learn more about the conference as well as get to know Kenyatta Lewis, who's a great friend of ISM and in a way, one of our hosts for the conference, as she's an executive at MGM Resorts International. So feel free to ask questions throughout today's event, and we'll be sure to address them by the end of our broadcast. Now, before we get started, don't be shy about commenting in the chat feature on where you're joining us from today. And if you've already registered for ISM World 2024, you can make a virtual connection today with people you can later meet in person at the conference. Today offers a preview of one of our workshops over the 3 days that the supply management profession convenes in Vegas. And that workshop is titled Sustainable Procurement 101 with MGM Resorts International. Promises to be an extensive, interactive, and focused on the intersection of sustainability and procurement at MGM Resorts, a global hospitality and entertainment company that operates 31 hotel and gaming destinations, including the MGM Grand, which conference attendees will find is one of the largest and most fun hotels in the world. So it's a tall task, providing an amazing destination experience and or customer service while doing it sustainably and honoring such important tenets as supplier diversity. And so what are the most important things companies and procurement organizations need to think about? Luckily, I know just who to ask. So let's welcome Kenyatta Lewis. She's Executive Director of Supplier Inclusion, Sustainable Procurement, and Training at MGM Resorts International. She's designed, implemented, and expanded the company's Supplier Diversity program, which has spent over $4 billion with certified diverse-owned businesses since 2000. She's also responsible for implementing the company's sustainable procurement strategy, which is aimed at addressing environmental and social impacts through the supply chain. Kenyatta has been recognized nationally as a subject matter expert in this area and is a member of ISM's Sustainability Committee. So Kenyatta, welcome. Glad to have you with us today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Just can you provide an overview of the MGM Sustainable Procurement Workshop and some of the objectives that will be discussed there and who else might be joining you?
Sure, I sure will, Dan. But before I do that, I just want to thank you and ISM for the opportunity to share a little bit about MGM Resorts program and also to participate again in the ISM conference. So to share a little bit about the workshop, this is, as you mentioned, it's a hands-on, business-friendly journey through core elements of sustainable procurement and the positive changes it can bring to a business. So during our 90 minutes together, it will include things like why sustainable procurement is, why organizations should move towards that, and some trends and foundational aspects of kind of collecting data, defining what is sustainable procurement first off, and doing some mapping of our suppliers and looking at risk within the supply chain, understanding what those are, what are eco labels, to make sure that we even go over supplier engagement. How do you talk to your suppliers about their risk within their business or where their products are coming from, and then tracking and reporting those results. So it's going to be a well-rounded framework of what sustainable procurement is. And so we're looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. And I know you mentioned that there could be some tours also involved. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes. So once during the workshop, as I mentioned, there will be hands-on. So, attendees will walk away with some pretty good resources and frameworks that they can implement in their own business. But also there is this a tour, a behind the scenes tour. Now, I don't know if you said that MGM is one of the world's largest hotels. Yeah. It's about 8 football fields long when you think about that. So we're comfortable shoes because we're going to go on a behind the scenes tour and really discuss water. We live in a desert. And so, water is very important to us, and how does water play a role in our business? Renewable energy, as well as some of our sustainable events. We have a beautiful, and it sounds like an oxymoron, but a beautiful single waste stream that really looks at how we manage our food waste, whether it's on the banquet side or even in our employee dining room. So we'll go and see how we sort through and make sure those things are recycled, and how we manage materials and waste in a big building such as MGM Grand. There is a possibility, depending on how many people sign up, we may take a tour out to MGM has a 300,000 mega solar array that's just north of Las Vegas, about 30 minutes north of Las Vegas. And it really powers 100% of our daytime power that's needed for the strip, for our operations on our Las Vegas strip corridor. So and that includes Mandalay Bay and Aria and Bellagio. And so that's a separate wow aspect of the conference for participants that we're looking forward to share. How does solar electricity from those powers, those panels, actually makes its way back to our operations and distribute into the grid for our properties to help reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, and for a more climate friendly event. So we look forward to sharing that with the attendees.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned the importance of water and what it means to your business. Just reminded me to remind our viewers to catch the March-April issue of Inside Supply Management, where you can read a little bit more about water and what it means to supply chains and why it's important that we conserve it. Can you tell us just what inspired this workshop topic? Obviously, you've been at MGM for a while working on sustainability issues like this. Just what inspired this workshop, and what takeaways can attendees expect to take away?
So sustainability is a way of doing business now, right? And when we look at specifically in our industry, over 80% of emissions and risks are in the supply chain. And in some instances, they're required by regulatory bodies. And so we know that for procurement professionals, understanding where to begin can be quite overwhelming for procurement professionals. And our global procurement team and our social impact and sustainability team have collaborated over the last 5 years to really share knowledge and simplify the integration into our procurement processes. And so this workshop was our, I would say, gift of sharing to support other procurement professionals who may be facing some of those same challenges and that shift in their business. And so attendees are going to walk away with a greater awareness of the foundational elements and some tangible but practical actions that they can take to get started or to move forward in the programs that they already have.
Yeah. You've spoke to Inside Supply Management multiple times. And one that stood out to me, one of the interviews that you did was in our March-April 2021 issue. It was focused on climate change and the threat it poses to supply chains. And one of the questions that you were asked in a Q&A about is what does sustainability mean to your company, and what goals do you have? And here's what you said. MGM Resorts has a formal social impact and sustainability strategy with a clear vision to be focused on what matters according to 3 key pillars: fostering diversity and inclusion, caring for our communities, and protecting the planet. Just talk about, expand on that a little bit. Has any of those, dynamics, changed since 2021? And just what does sustainable procurement mean to MGM? Just kind of update that answer a little bit.
So yes, it's still the same. And if anything, we have really doubled down from a tactical level on what that means in our business. And it's really responsibly engaging our value chain with minimal impact to resources, people, and the ecosystem. And it's really all about managing risk, right? Simply, that's the way that we do business in this day and age. And so we are still protecting the planet. I don't know if you read, but just yesterday, we issued a press release that MGM Resorts has made the CDP, the Climate Disclosure Project's A list. And so there were thousands of companies that applied for that. And so we were recognized, one, of focusing on climate, decreasing our carbon emissions, and how we can really protect the planet. So those are still our tenets: lowering our carbon emissions, ethical and humane treatment, making sure that now we focus even more on local and diverse, being water responsible. You live in the desert too.
Mhm.
So, we really focus on that. And then not to exclude supplier diversity, because supplier diversity is also a part of sustainable procurement. So committing to doing business with diverse businesses as well as local businesses, and then in their development as well. So we have a robust mentorship program.
Mhm.
Deforestation is something that we're definitely focused on, and a circular economy. So that's going a little bit deeper into what does that mean when we talk about people and planet, and really assessing where the risk lies, and how do we have some tangible goals that we can measure against those tenets. Now, I will tell you that we firmly believe that implementing a sustainable procurement practice, it not only enhances our brand, and our reputation and our stakeholder relations, but it also drives innovation and cost effectiveness and
Mhm.
long-term resilience for our company. So MGM Resorts, we're really excited to continue to focus on what matters.
Yeah. Obviously, when you come up with a sustainability objective or a plan, you have to account for some business forces that are going to enter into that. I mean, one thing that I've written a lot about, there's obviously a subset of new consumers, typically younger ones, who are on record, and whether you look at opinion polls and whatnot, they're on record as saying that sustainability is important to them when they choose who they're going to spend and where they're going to spend their money with. Just talk about some of those dynamics and some of the business forces that impact sustainability decisions at your company.
Dan, we really recognize that most of those impacts extend
Mhm.
beyond our direct operations,
Mhm.
and so we have to be so mindful that this matters to our guests as well, namely our customers' expectations, our convention clients. ISM, when you come in, you have some expectations of us from
Mhm.
um, you know, uh, zero waste, or for how much water are we utilizing single-use plastics. Those things matter to our convention clients, and so our customers, all the way down to the individual guest who comes and stays with us. And so we've committed to represent to those businesses how we're going to be more sustainable. There's also just vulnerabilities within the supply chain that we faced within COVID-19 that were disruptions to our supply chain. There are some regulatory requirements. People don't think about that, but it's not
Mhm.
always that you voluntarily want to do these things, but there are regulatory requirements from the international EU or possibly the SEC that come down with state rules. And one of those that come to mind is cage-free eggs. Can you buy a non-cage-free egg anywhere? It's like
Yeah.
legislature in some states. So those are some of those business drivers that it's about doing business. If we want to do business, it's required. And so we've seen also that surveys and research, whether it was from EY or Deloitte, they all say the same thing, that these business forces are driving sustainability, um, and it's rather consistent across all industries.
Mhm. That reminds me, question that we didn't discuss previously, but it's kind of related to what we're talking about. I mean, there's a lot of talk around ESG, especially over the last year. It's kind of taken some darts, so to speak. I think most of that is from lawmakers and commentators, but I mean it's been effective to some extent. But you talk to businesses, and those elements are still important to them. Obviously, you're not going to have customers if there's a climate crisis, or that's going to impact. Just talk about that mindset. And obviously, from your firsthand experience working there, how important it is to MGM, and just talk about that dynamic, and especially with some of the furor, for lack of a better word, that surrounds the politics or whatnot of it?
Well, we don't really get into the politics.
Yeah.
What we get into is the realization that we have made some public stated goals
Hmm.
to decrease our carbon emissions, to be mindful of how we utilize water. And those are commitments that we are going to stand on.
Hmm.
Um, because we know what's best for our business, and we know what's best for our communities, and we know that risk lies everywhere. So we choose not to necessarily focus on the political side of it, but we
Hmm.
focus on the reality of what's happening in our business and the impacts and what it is that we can do to be corporate stewards, to be good corporate citizens, and to make sure that our guests, that we're delivering on what our guests expect. And
Yeah.
that's to have a safe and healthy and good time, whether it's here in Las Vegas or any of our resorts throughout the world.
Yeah. To achieve some of those objectives that you just spoke of, obviously you need buy-in, not only from stakeholders internally, but also external partners. Just what are some of the ways that MGM drives that progress through collaborating with those stakeholders and external partners?
So there are several external partners that
Mm.
we have worked with, and they really help us. These nonprofit organizations, they support us around education and setting targets and goals. And for example, we've partnered with the Nature Conservancy to really understand our beef supply chain. That's huge. Beef is huge, and it is food and beverage is really big for us. And so they bring great intel to help us to maneuver through how do we set targets and goals around that. We've also partnered with the World Resource Institute. We set a Cool Foods pledge to decrease our food related carbon emissions by 25%. And so it's partnering with organizations like those that really provide guidance and insight and make sure that we're setting realistic targets, and that we are considering biodiversity in other aspects as well, as we make these decisions.
Yeah. One of the things that we also write about a lot at ISM is in terms of, the procurement organization, getting good synergy with other functions in the company. I mean, facilities is obviously a big one for a hotel or a resort. Um, Working closely to achieve, those objectives and sustainable improvements. Just talk about how that process works at MGM.
So, for our organization, it's really depends on we engage the departments that we are whatever the products that we're procuring or that we're sourcing. That's the department that we really focus on. So, as you mentioned, facilities
Mhm.
is huge with all of our operations. Food and beverage, we partner with our hotel strategy, and these are all centers of excellence that we can work with, and then it kind of moves throughout all of the operations since they are centralized. Our design and construction and development teams, based on the capital projects that we may have going, we really collaborate and engage with those. But as I said, it depends heavily on the products that we source.
Yeah. I know we were talking before we came on the air here. I was just sharing some of my previous visit experience to Las Vegas, and it was quite a while ago. And it obviously, as many of our viewers know, Las Vegas has become a very different city over the years in terms of, the entertainment options that it offers. I mean, it's like I said, it's not Wayne Newton gambling and buffets anymore. There are a lot of other, pursuits that, and it's also family oriented. So there are a lot more dynamics to consider. Just how is that growth? I know you've been at MGM for quite a while. How is that growth and those different offerings kind of impacted, the job that you do in terms of providing those entertainment options and as sustainable as possible?
We have so many subject matter experts
Hmm.
that help us as it relates to sustainability, and how, as our business evolves and as we provide more offerings, our city is really, we just finished with Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yay!
Hmm.
Um, there are so many offerings that we provide to our guests as they come to town. And one of what we didn't speak about, I think, was those that I will be presenting with during this conference are our
Mhm.
subject matter experts from our social impact and sustainability um, department or our centers of excellence. And they really are on the ground floor as we provide offerings to our guests. And we think through as a company, how does this impact our goals? Whether it's a new restaurant, we're working with the chefs. And I'm sorry, those partners that will
Mhm.
be presenting with me are Michael Gulich, who is our Vice President of Sustainability, and also Matt Esper, who is our Senior Manager of Sustainability Strategy for our company. And so it is a huge collaborative effort as we look at whether it's restaurants or it's the shark reef at Mandalay Bay. We're looking at animal welfare and how we're treating those animals. We're looking at our retail sector in our construction space. It is a truly a group effort with the mission in mind of how do we focus on what matters and how are these new offerings going to impact our goals and our mission. So there is so much to do here, but
Mhm.
just know behind the scenes that there are people that are working around the clock. We never close. We're working around the clock to ensure that if it's a huge event like the Super Bowl, that all of the food is being accounted for, that it's not going nothing's going to the landfill or minimal is going to a landfill, and that we are just being very intentional about how we operate and ensuring that we are doing it with as least amount of impact to our natural resources.
Yeah. Is there any particular sustainability objective or goal or that you're most proud of in your time there?
So I would say this new one that for us to
Mhm.
make the CDP list, I think that is phenomenal. We have put the processes and policies in place to ensure that we are drawing down on this climate goal, and I say all of it is any progress is worthy of being celebrated. So we are excited that we had a water goal to reduce our water usage by 25% by 2030. We blew that out of the park years ago,
Mhm.
but we're still maintaining and being water responsible, and just still again focus on what matters. Um, what there's still much work to be done as it relates to transparency within our supply chain and impacting the businesses within our local communities and ensuring that what we do is something that we is worthy of being in the news from a positive perspective.
Yeah. Well, let's park it on just on the ISM conference for a minute here. I know this is not your first rodeo or your first conference. Just what in the times that you've been there, what experiences or insights have stood out or been most valuable to you, and what's the benefit for attending? Not only for you but for supply management professionals in general.
Thanks for asking that
Yeah.
question because I think it is a great opportunity for networking with cross industry peers to hone or expand skills, to share best practices, and also just to glean some benchmarks and insights. There have been times where I've gone to ISM, the ISM conference,
Mhm.
and I've had a challenge, and I needed to find out does anybody else have this same challenge, and it's just kind of rewarding to know you're not the only one.
Mhm.
And then also to meet with suppliers, be exposed to the latest technology and trends and some of the tools and resources to just support the supply chain practitioners in our development or our systems. And it's just where I seek guidance for process and system challenges. Um, there's always someone to connect with at ISM.
Mhm.
And I would also say it's a time to celebrate achievements. Last year, we were we received the Trailblazer Award for Supplier Diversity. We were one of the many companies, and we were so elated for that. So it's a time of celebration for those
Sure.
achievements, and then to welcome the next generation of procurement professionals. And their energy and passion kind of reminds us why we are in this field, why we are supply chain or procurement practitioners. And if we're talking about for this year, the last thing I would say is people want to come to Vegas because MGM hospitality and that spirit of yes that we have, it's awaiting you. I mean, so
Yeah.
you just don't want to miss it, right?
Mhm. Well,
We have some great things.
yeah, that kind of led right into my next question. I mean, we do these LinkedIn lives with people at conference, but I've never talked to someone right inside the building there. So I'll take this opportunity to ask you, for someone who's never, been to the MGM Grand before, what could they expect, and what makes it, the MGM Grand a different and unique location for this ISM conference?
I say it's our
Mhm.
employees.
Mhm.
They have the spirit of yes and to deliver the show to every guest. And
Mhm.
so prepare to be amazed and wowed, and to be greeted. We
Mhm.
have such great hospitality, even though we're not in the South. Well,
Mhm.
we have a property in the South, but
Mhm.
we have, I would say, wear comfortable shoes.
Mhm.
Dress nice from the ankles up, but for the feet, you want to be very comfortable.
Mhm.
Expect to be have wonderful food, entertainment, and just an overall good time.
Yeah. Well, hey, Kenyatta, this has been great. Those are all the questions that I had. I mean, is there anything that we haven't talked about, or that I didn't ask that you think might be vital to our discussion that our viewers should know?
No, just
Okay.
make sure they book
Yeah.
early.
Yeah.
Book early, because believe it or not, we do fill up.
Yeah.
MGM is 5,000 rooms, but we do fill up. But if we do, don't worry. We have like 8 other properties on the Las Vegas Strip that can serve as well. But we prefer to have you in the house at MGM Grand.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it. Yeah, it looks very impressive. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Well, hey, thank you, Kenyatta, for joining us, and a huge thank you to you for joining us today. We hope that you found some great takeaways and that you'll join us at ISM World 2024. Once again, April 29th through May 1st at the MGM Grand in the Super Bowl city of Las Vegas. But most important to us, it's the ISM World 2024 city of Las Vegas. If you've already registered, we look forward to seeing you. And if you haven't, be aware that our current rate tier will expire after February 29th. Leap year, you get an extra day. Good for that. So if you register before then, you can enjoy the best rates and save some serious cash, which I'm told is never a bad idea before one goes to Las Vegas. To learn more, just go visit ismworld.org/annual. And if you'd like to learn more about the sessions at ISM World 2024, we'll have a LinkedIn Live event next Tuesday. Same time, same platform, with another person you'll meet at ISM World 2024. So for Kenyatta Lewis and Robin Garrison, who helped us behind the scenes today, I'm Dan Zeiger. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time, and I especially hope to see you at conference. Have a good day.